So, what is going on, my fellow collectors? How is everybody doing today? Daredevil19 here, and today I wanted to do a video on specific things that are great for action figures or things that are horrible or a bad choice when it comes to an action figure. So, pretty much going over the pros and cons or what's good or bad with an action figure. I've always wanted to do some type of video like this, and now I am finally doing one. I'll probably do a couple of these videos because I didn't list off every single thing, so consider this part one. What I'm going to do is list off a good thing, then list off a bad thing, and go back and forth until we get through all 10 good and 10 bad things. So without further ado, let's get into it. So starting off with the good or what's best for an action figure is good articulation. You need to have good ankle movement on an action figure or it's going to suck. To me, that is a huge point when it comes to a figure because if there's bad ankle movement or really not much, it's not going to be too much of a fun figurine. So now the worst or bad things for an action figure, one is having one to no accessories. An example is like Black Series. Sometimes you just get a lightsaber or just a blaster, and that's it. No extra hands or faces or head sculpts or anything like that. So to me, that is one of the worst things you could do when it comes to an action figure. So going back to the good here, good articulation all around from head to toe to increase posing options and posability. Now, it's okay here and there to have one or two joints that don't give you the best range, as long as most of the articulation gives you really good movement, it's going to make the figure so much fun and give you a lot of posing options. Like Mafex is really good with it. Most of the time, Figure Arts is. A company that is above and beyond with that is Rebeltech, Amazing Yamaguchi. They give you some of the best articulation when it comes to an action figure. So that is definitely one of the best things when it comes to an action figure is great articulation, like I said, from head to toe. On to another bad thing is limited or restricted movement. Now, if most of the articulation is restricted or hindered or just not good movement, it's not going to be a fun figure. You're not going to have fun posing it around, and you're mainly going to have to keep it in a vanilla pose, which is not fun. And as we talked about in the last live episode of our podcast, I feel like that's a big reason why Diamond Select Toys really didn't sell figures because their articulation was lacking big time. Now, back to the good is a good amount of accessories to give you plenty of display options. As I was mentioning with good articulation, combining that with a lot of accessories, you will have tons and tons of posing and display options. So combining those is a huge, huge plus and one of the best things you could do with a figure. Back to the bad here, when a figure is not included with at least one extra head sculpt and alternate hands. Once again, a great example of this is Black Series. They lack big time with accessories. Not all their figures, but a nice chunk of them really lack with accessories. To me, that is a huge no-no when it comes to an action figure because it just you have no display options and it's just not a fun figure, man. Next, going back to the good here, multiple hands and faces. A company that is superb with this is Figure Arts, and they always have been. Like even their $35 figures, they're giving you a few alternate faces, not just one, a few of them, and a bunch of alternate hands. But most companies are really good with this. Buzzmod, Amazing Yamaguchi, even Figma, Marvel Legends is getting good with it. Even McFarlane Toys is getting much better with it. So to me, that is a must when it comes to an action figure. Multiple hands and faces. Going back to the bad here. This is one of my biggest pet peeves. I know a lot of people hate this as well. Wonky eyes or crooked eyes. If you cannot paint the eyes on correctly on an action figure, throw that shit in the trash, man. We do not want that bullshit. To me, that absolutely ruins an action figure, and I know most of you will definitely agree with that. Back to the good here, including an extra wrist joint or extra joints in general. Mainly the wrist joints. Sometimes companies will give you an extra neck peg or even ankle joints. To me, that is a huge plus because sometimes they break, especially the wrist joints. So something that minor is really a great thing for an action figure. Going back to the bad here, paint bleeding. Paint bleeding is annoying. It's a huge eyesore. It's not one of the worst things, but it definitely is not a good thing, and it is a bad thing for an action figure. Back to the good here, package friendly boxes so you can repack your figure, say if you're moving or if you just want to put them away in storage or have a place to store the accessories. Most import companies are great with this. Figuarts, Maison Yamaguchi, even Figma isn't too bad with them. Even McFarlane's getting them good with it. Marvel Legends as well. So package friendly boxes for your figures is definitely a good thing. Back to the bad thing. Joints that are way too tight or stiff, causing fear of breaks. Now, if a joint is too tight and you can't get it fixed, if you're rough on it, that thing's gonna snap on you. And breaks is the biggest disappointing thing when it comes to an action figure, especially when it's like an import or something like that. So that definitely is a bad thing. Back to the good, including effects from energy effects or fire flame effects or like ice effects or smoke or something. Just effects in general. This adds so much more to action figures. Buzzmod is great with that. Figuarts sometimes does it. They really haven't in a while with like their Dragon Ball stuff, but they always use to give you some sort of an energy effect with their Dragon Ball figures. Not all companies do this. To me, that's a huge plus and positive and good thing when it comes to figures. Back over to the bad stuff here. Now, I just mentioned joints that are too tight. This one is joints that are super loose out of the box. This is another huge no. Say you have a hip joint that's real loose or an ankle joint, you're not going to be able to get your figure to stand. Plus, you won't be able to put them in specific poses. Amazing Yamaguchi used to have this issue with the hip joints, and it was so frustrating. They've gotten much better with it though, but having loose joints fresh out of the packaging, such a bad, horrible thing for action figures. Back to the good here, being true to the character with accuracy, being accurate to that specific character, whether it's a movie character of an actor, an anime character, cartoon character, comic character, or whatever. We want it to be accurate. If it's not accurate, it's going to upset some people. Me, this isn't one of my biggest pet peeves, but I know it does bother lots of collectors. Back to the bad, being overpriced. This happens so much in the figure world. A lot of figures are overpriced and it's so disappointing and sad. These companies I feel like are starting to just take advantage of us collectors. I mean, we're going to buy the figures because we're collectors, man, but it's sad when they take advantage and have a figure super overpriced. Definitely a bad thing. Back to the good. So we have two left for each one. Adding paint shading or a paint wash that brings the detail out on a figure. Now, I know this isn't for everybody, but for me, and I know a lot of people as well, they love that added paint detail with shading or a wash. It really does elevate the figure. It's something so small, but it just brings out the detail and it makes you show more appreciation for the figure because you could see all that little extra detail they put into their figures. So it's a benefit for the toy company because it makes them look better, adding in that little bit of extra work. Back to the bad here, knee or elbow joints not hitting a 90-degree bend or angle. Now, a lot of collectors want to hit at least 90 degrees. When it's more or goes all the way, huge plus. But when it doesn't even hit 90 degrees, very disappointing. That was a big issue with the SH Figure Arts Wano arc. Luffy, a lot of people are really disappointed with that, and they did fix it a bit with the romance. Dawn movie. All right, so the last one for the good here. Giving a character cloth goods when it comes to capes, coats, and more. It adds to the articulation on a figure by giving you the option on how you want the cape to look on a Batman or Superman, or a coat for characters like Gambit, or a robe type piece for characters like Tanjiro or Giyu. I know this isn't for everyone, but I think most collectors agree with this. Cloth goods with wire is the route to go with a lot of stuff. When you're giving a figure a plastic cape, whether it's one of those plastic, horrible, articulated ones like what Amazing Yamaguchi used to do, or like what McFarlane used to do, give you the soft, rubbery type plastic cape. It sucks because it's pre-posed. You know, if you put your figure in another pose, it looks stupid or it doesn't bend, so when you get cloth goods with wire, you could pose it to your liking and how you want. It elevates a figure so much. It's another small thing that really makes a figure so much more fun and just gives you, as the collector, more displaying options and posing options with your figure. That right there is a huge plus, positive, and a great good thing for an action figure. So now for the last bad worst thing, a character with a handgun that is molded into the holster so it cannot be removed, and then they don't include the handgun by itself. Why do you guys do this? Figure Arts still does it. McFarlane has does it, and I think he still does it. Do not do that. Same with knives. Why mold a knife into the holster? Same with the gun. It's like you're slapping us collectors in the face. It's such a huge disappointment. Yeah, it's a small thing, but it's like, why? Why are you doing that? So that is another horrible, really bad thing you could do when it comes to action figures. But anyway, that is my video. I hope all of you enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments what are some positives and negatives to you when it comes to an action figure. Not everyone is going to agree with what I say, so that's why I want to hear yours in the comments. Thanks for watching, everyone, and do not forget, I will catch you on the next episode of Daredevil 19, and I will also see you guys later.
We shall start with revenge.
I am the knight. Gonna change the future.